Well, that is what this role is, but this is about the sin we all carry.
At 84 years old, Nick Nolte has lived a life larger than any character he ever played. Wild, brilliant, unpredictable, and brutally honest. But in a rare and emotionally charged moment, the legendary actor finally opened up about something he has avoided for decades. The 7 actors he absolutely could not stand working with. For years, Hollywood insiders whispered about Nolte's fiery temper, his refusal to sugarcoat the truth, and the behind-the-scenes tension that followed him from one movie set to another. But no one, not fans, not reporters, not even his closest friends, ever expected him to reveal the real names. Yet now, in his mid-80s, after stepping away from the spotlight and reflecting on the chaos of his career, Nolte has decided there's nothing left to hide. And the actors on his list, they're not who anyone expected. Some were award-winning legends, others were rising stars, and one of them was someone people believed Nolte considered a friend. But what pushed him to the breaking point? What happened behind closed doors that left such a bitter imprint on a man who has worked with some of the greatest performers of all time? As Nolte tells it, these were not petty disagreements or minor clashes. These were explosive battles, personal betrayals, moments so toxic that he still remembers them vividly decades later. Today, we're going to break down the shocking truth behind each name, the stories Nolte refused to tell until now, and why these 7 actors made life on set almost unbearable for one of Hollywood's most unforgettable stars. To understand why Nick Nolte finally revealed the 7 actors he absolutely hated working with, you have to go back to the intense, chaotic world of Hollywood in the late 1970s and 1980s. It was an era when actors were encouraged to be larger than life, not only on screen, but off it too. Studios wanted wild personalities, unfiltered emotion, and stars who pushed boundaries. And there was no one more perfect for that era than Nick Nolte. With his gravelly voice, unruly hair, and raw emotional energy, Nolte became the symbol of a real actor, one who brought his entire soul into every role. But that same intensity that made him a legend also created the perfect environment for conflict. Nick wasn't the type to politely smile when something bothered him. He wasn't the type to keep his opinions hidden. If he thought someone was lazy, fake, disrespectful, or unprofessional, he made sure they knew it. And in an industry full of fragile egos, that was a recipe for disaster. Even before the stories about the 7 actors began circulating, Nolte had already built a reputation for clashing with co-stars. Directors described him as brilliant, but unpredictable. Producers said he was magnetic, but exhausting. Some actors admired him, others were terrified of him. And behind all the smoke and gossip, there were real moments, real explosions that planted the seeds of the grudges he still holds today. One of the earliest examples came during a high-pressure shoot in the early 1980s. Nolte was playing a physically demanding role that required intense commitment. He wanted every scene to feel authentic, every emotion to ring true. But one of his co-stars, an actor whose name Nolte would later add to the infamous list, treated the project like a casual gig. They arrived late, flubbed lines, and refused to rehearse. Nolte was furious. He believed that disrespecting the work was the same as disrespecting the entire cast and crew. And what started as a small disagreement soon escalated into a heated shouting match that shut down production for the rest of the day. This wasn't an isolated incident. Another actor on Nolte's future hate list constantly tried to overshadow him. During press interviews, offering passive-aggressive comments and backhanded compliments designed to make Nolte look unstable or difficult. Nick, who was already dealing with personal struggles and the pressure of fame, found the behavior manipulative and cruel. Years later, he would still refer to that co-star as one of the phoniest people I've ever met in my life. But perhaps the most painful experience came when Nolte trusted a fellow actor, someone he thought was a genuine friend, only to discover they were leaking private information about him to the tabloids. At the height of his fame, Nolte's personal life was constantly under a microscope. He struggled with substance issues, legal troubles, and the overwhelming expectations of stardom. To have someone he trusted betray him for publicity hurt deeper than any on-set fight ever could. That betrayal became one of the defining reasons this individual ended up on Nolte's most hated list. By the late 1980s, Nick Nolte's reputation as a hot-blooded perfectionist was cemented. But beneath the fiery exterior was a man who simply expected honesty, professionalism, and respect. If someone crossed those lines, Nolte didn't forget ever. Even decades later, as he reflected on his career at age 84, those wounds still felt fresh enough for him to finally speak up. At 84, Nick Nolte has no reason to hold back. And when he finally revealed the 7 actors he hated working with, the first 3 names immediately sent shockwaves through Hollywood circles. These weren't casual dislikes or petty grievances, they were actors whose behavior, according to Nolte, made life on set intolerable. The first actor on the list was someone who had gained fame for charm and wit, but apparently brought none of it to professional interactions. Nolte recalled a film set in the mid-1980s where this actor showed up late, unprepared, and dismissive of everyone around them. Scenes that should have taken hours stretched into full days. Nolte, who approached his craft with seriousness, could not tolerate such disregard. Their constant improvisation disrupted not only his work, but the rhythm of the entire production. According to Nolte, it wasn't just incompetence, it was arrogance disguised as creativity. Every delay and distraction became a point of friction, and by the end of the shoot, their relationship was irreparably damaged. The second actor was someone Nolte described as manipulative behind the scenes. Publicly, this actor maintained a friendly, charming persona, but privately, Nolte accused them of undermining colleagues and spreading gossip to further their own image. During a tense on-location shoot, the actor allegedly withheld key information from Nolte, forcing him to adjust at the last minute and compromising his performance. Nolte recalls confronting them, only to receive passive-aggressive responses and insincere apologies. That experience left a lasting impression, teaching him to be wary of duplicity in an industry that thrives on appearances. The third name shocked many fans because this actor was considered a friend by Nolte at the time. Nolte trusted them, shared personal experiences, and collaborated closely on multiple projects. But that trust was shattered when the actor leaked private information to tabloids and insiders. For Nolte, it wasn't just betrayal, it was a breach of the unspoken code of respect among actors. He described feeling exposed, angry, and deeply hurt, realizing that Hollywood glamour often masks selfishness and deceit. It was one thing to clash with a difficult co-star. It was another to be betrayed by someone you believed was loyal. Each of these first 3 actors left a profound impact on Nolte's life and career. Their behavior contributed to the caution and defensiveness he later developed. When joining new projects, Nolte's public reputation for volatility wasn't simply a product of his own temperament. It was shaped by years of navigating toxic work environments, manipulative colleagues, and outright betrayals. Behind the gravelly voice and tough exterior was a man fiercely protective of his craft and his personal integrity. Even now, decades later, Nolte's recounting of these experiences is raw and unfiltered. He does not soften the criticism or offer diplomatic explanations. He speaks plainly about the frustration, anger, and heartbreak he endured, explaining why these first 3 actors earned a permanent place on his list. For Nolte, this isn't about revenge or bitterness, it's about honesty, transparency, and finally setting the record straight. The revelation of these names shocked fans not just because of who was on the list, but because it exposed the darker side of Hollywood, the rivalries, the deceit, and the personalities that make collaboration so unpredictable. Nolte's story reminds everyone that fame doesn't guarantee kindness or respect, and that even legendary actors encounter people who make their professional life miserable. Nick Nolte's career has spanned decades, and with that longevity comes countless collaborations, friendships, and unfortunately, conflicts. By the time he reached his late 40s and early 50s, the height of his fame, he had accumulated experiences with actors whose behavior ranged from difficult to outright unbearable. The next 3 names on his infamous list reveal how complex relationships on set can become, and why Nolte's tolerance for dishonesty or unprofessionalism is near zero. The 4th actor Nolte mentioned was a well-known star, whose on-screen charisma often masked off-screen tension. Nolte recounted a shoot in which this actor consistently undermined co-stars to grab attention. Scenes meant to showcase ensemble chemistry became battlegrounds as the actors sought the spotlight. At any cost, Nolte, who valued teamwork and authenticity, was infuriated. He tried repeatedly to address the behavior calmly, only to be met with deflection, charm, or outright denial. By the end of production, Nolte had decided that despite their fame and talent, this actor was impossible to respect professionally. The fifth actor on the list presented a different type of challenge. This individual was notorious for unpredictably arriving late, improvising in ways that disrupted carefully planned scenes, and sometimes refusing to show up at all. Nolte described one incident where a critical scene had to be rewritten on the spot because this actor refused to follow directions. While others might have tolerated such behavior for the sake of ratings or camaraderie, Nolte considered it unacceptable. For him, professional integrity came first. Ego and stubbornness came second. That clash left a lasting impression, reinforcing Nolte's belief that not all talent justifies poor behavior. The sixth actor was perhaps the most surprising, someone widely regarded as a friend and collaborator. Nolte had worked with this actor on multiple projects, even celebrating personal milestones together. But behind the scenes, tensions emerged. According to Nolte, the actor displayed manipulative tendencies, subtly influencing directors and crew members while trying to position themselves above him. The betrayal stung because Nolte had trusted them implicitly. Their actions made him question relationships, loyalty, and the delicate balance of trust required to survive in Hollywood. Even years later, he remembers these moments vividly, emphasizing that this actor's charm could never hide the damage they caused collectively. These three actors shaped Nolte's approach to work and collaboration. He became fiercely protective of his environment, cautious about whom he trusted, and unapologetic in defending his boundaries. His public persona, sometimes described as difficult or temperamental, was rooted not in vanity, but in a refusal to compromise on principles he deemed essential. He valued honesty, commitment, and respect, and anyone who failed to meet those standards risked being labeled unbearable. Sharing these experiences at age 84 reflects Nolte's desire to tell the truth, regardless of consequences. He acknowledges that fame often comes with difficult personalities, that collaboration is never without friction, and that resentment can linger for decades if left unspoken. By naming these six actors the first six on his list, he not only gives fans insight into Hollywood's hidden rivalries, but also explains the fiery reputation he carries. The seventh actor on Nick Nolte's list carries the most dramatic story of all, someone whose behavior left a mark not just on his career, but on him personally. According to Nolte, this actor's actions went beyond simple clashes or creative disagreements. They crossed the line into manipulation, betrayal, and deliberate provocation. Unlike the other six, whose conflicts were often rooted in ego or unprofessionalism, the seventh individual seemed determined to undermine him at every turn. The combination of talent, charm, and toxicity made this person unforgettable in the worst possible way. Nolte recalls a particular project where this actor openly attempted to sabotage scenes, challenge his authority, and control the narrative on set. The tension became so palpable that it affected the entire cast and crew. Directors struggled to mediate, producers worried about delays, and co-stars walked on eggshells. For Nolte, who valued authenticity and trust above all else, the situation was infuriating. He described the frustration of having to focus as much on managing interpersonal conflict as on performing his role, leaving him emotionally drained and questioning his willingness to return to similar projects. The experience with the seventh actor also highlighted the darker realities of Hollywood relationships. Nolte explained that fame and power can bring out both the best and worst in people. While talent may earn respect on screen, it does not automatically create ethical or trustworthy behavior off-screen. The lessons he learned from this final conflict shaped his approach to work, friendships, and even his public persona. Nolte became more selective in his collaborations, ensuring he surrounded himself with people who shared his values of respect, honesty, and professionalism. Despite the bitterness these experiences created, Nolte does not dwell on resentment. Instead, he frames the story as a series of lessons learned over decades in one of the most challenging industries in the world. He acknowledges that conflict is inevitable when strong personalities, high stakes, and creative vision collide. But he also emphasizes the importance of maintaining personal integrity, setting boundaries, and recognizing when a relationship is toxic enough to step away from. In other words, while he hated working with certain actors, he does not regret the career that brought both triumph and tumult. Reflecting on his life at 84, Nolte admits that these experiences made him who he is today, a seasoned, passionate, and often blunt individual who values truth over diplomacy. He understands that not everyone will like him, and he does not expect them to. He also recognizes that the intense clashes, heated arguments, and moments of betrayal contributed to his depth as an actor and as a person. Every difficult encounter taught him resilience, patience, and the value of surrounding himself with trustworthy collaborators. For fans, Nolte's revelations provide a rare, unfiltered glimpse into Hollywood's inner workings and the personal challenges faced by even its most iconic figures. It's a story of talent and brilliance intersecting with ego and ambition, and the human toll that comes with navigating it. The 7 actors he named were not simply disliked, they represented lessons in professionalism, integrity, and self-preservation. Ultimately, Nick Nolte's story is a testament to survival in a world where appearances can be deceiving, and loyalty is rare. Even after decades of fame, success, and turmoil, he remains unapologetically honest, fiercely protective of his craft, and committed to telling the truth. By sharing the names of those he hated, he reminds the world that behind the glitz and glamour of Hollywood lies a reality filled with conflict, compromise, and hard-earned wisdom.